but on your wrist and mine at 4 p.m. And I will call this meeting of the Greenwood Fire Department Merit Commission to order at 4 p.m. on the March the 31st. And you want to do a roll call, Kim?
Yes. President Tapp,
Here.
Vice President Welch,
Here.
Secretary Watkins.
Here.
Mr. Holmes
Here.
and Mr. Fouts.
Present. Thank you. Next order of business is to approve the February 23rd minutes, that meeting minutes, and those were distributed some time ago. Is there any reason we shouldn't approve those? Is there a motion for approval?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion on the minutes or corrections? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Those minutes have been approved. Is there any old business to come in front of the Merit Commission this afternoon? I have none. Does anybody have any?
No.
Okay. Next item of business is the new business. And at this point, I will open up the meeting to a public hearing. And this is to discuss, ask questions, make comments from the public on the rules of procedure that we are going to adopt or not adopt this afternoon. Again, it's for discussion of the rules of procedure. Is there anybody from the public that would like to make a comment or ask a question? I assume
Hello.
Go ahead.
So my name is Nat Ridge, District Vice President, Local 4252. There were a couple of questions that weren't real clear to some of our members, and we had some questions, probably 4 or 5. Most of them are pretty quick and easy. First one has to do with Article 3, paragraph A1A, which talks about the age requirement does not apply to a person who has previously been employed by the fire department. Is that effectively saying that we will take lateral transfers, or does that have to do with someone who has left the fire department coming back?
Chief? Can you help on that?
Article
3, it's Article 3, item A1A.
Are you going to get all of his questions and then address them one by one, or
Address them each as you go.
I was going to direct each one of them individually.
Okay, as you go. Okay. Let me pull that.
The copies of these that I laid out for you evidently don't have the backs of the pages on there, so it's missing some information.
Two-sided copy.
I'm sorry.
What would we be missing?
probably part of them, if it's two-sided, you're gonna have articles missing.
Yeah.
So the question was about lateral transfer.
Back,
It is, because lateral transfers is in another paragraph
Right,
that says that it's been deleted or going to be deleted or something along those lines.
right. We chose not to accept lateral transfers in the Merit Commission because of the fact that the state does not have a mandated state fire academy. And that is primarily why you take lateral transfers for a merit position in this state code, because the state code is the Merit Commission not only for police but for fire. We decided not to take the lateral transfers because we as a fire department base a lot of the things that we do specifically related to PTO and time off and adjusting for that based upon seniority. And if you took a true lateral transfer process, you would have to take the seniority of that individual coming from another fire department and give them the seniority that they're entitled to. We
Okay.
have problems with seniority with people that get hired that are already in the PERF system, and their seniority may be a 2, 3, maybe a month difference, and we've had issues with that. So we chose not to allow lateral transfers to avoid that possible consequence.
okay,
So
thank
the
you.
answer to the question is no. That age requirement is not there referring to lateral transfers. Just for the record, there was an ordinance pending, ordinance 2108, that removes the lateral transfer requirement from the fire merit system. So you will not need to adopt rules about lateral transfers.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Um,
you for that.
The next question was Article 3A7, talked about background investigations. It lists a number of criteria that would allow or disallow someone to be hired, but it doesn't really say anything specific that says, yes, you get hired or no, you won't. Is this something that's just a subjective question to the board at that time? Or is there some type of objective criteria that they're going to use in that area?
Well, the way I took it, there's no objective information that would be used. It is, every background investigation is going to be different based on its own merits. Am I okay on that assumption?
Well, I would clarify that the purpose and intent of that language, the criteria is, the purpose of the investigation is to provide information to assess the character and reputation of the applicant. So any information you would get that would impact that negatively or adversely, that would be the criteria you're looking at. The purpose of it, the plain meaning of the language is you're gonna look at information to get an assessment of their character and reputation. So common sense would tell you if something comes up that reflects negatively or adversely impacts that, that's the kind of information, that's the criteria. I don't know how else to more simply explain that. You can't come up with a laundry list of, here are the things that we specifically will look for, because something might come up that's not on that list.
And I understand that part of it, but who makes the determination that a certain thing that is on that list that they have committed is now going to disqualify them? Who makes that determination?
I would believe that that would be ultimately up to you. The chief would say, I think this disqualifies this person.
And that's,
And you
I'm
would
just
look at
trying
it
to
and
get
go, you know
clarification.
what? That to us shows that's not the kind of person we want working for us.
So just an example in the past that I've come across, there was some information about an individual that had maybe a multiple list of driving infractions, some very recent, maybe some things that attain to a personal nature. And so my recommendation to the merit board at that time and going forward would be the merit commission would be that I give an unfavorable recommendation of this candidate based upon my background research.
Okay.
But it's up to you to make the ultimate decision whether that person is eligible to be hired or not. The reason that I'm being vague is these meetings are public meetings, and if you get into specifics about individuals, it is a public meeting.
I got you.
And therefore, you may destroy their character,
Correct.
not only for the room, but for the rest of the public
Right.
that may be listening in.
Understood.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Thank you. The next part was Article 3A11. Talks about repayment of someone who does not get hired through PERF. I know some departments, if you go through the PERF process and then say no, you have to pay it back. Others, if you go through and through no fault of your own, you're not hired, you will or will not have to pay back a portion of it. Has that been spelled out, or is that saying that if someone goes through PERF and through no fault of their own get declined, they're still required to pay back the entire amount?
That, I drafted that to recoup the costs if someone doesn't end up getting hired, because the city didn't get the return on its investment.
Right.
That is ultimately up to you to decide if you want that.
And so the issue there, and the reason that is in there written like it is there are individuals knowing that they're not going to be able to pass that per physical, but yet they go ahead and take it. And the price of that per physical for the fire department is between $1,000 to $1,700 per person. And so knowingly going through a physical and not being able to pass it, that's why that provision is in there.
I understand. This makes it very clear though, so there's no question. Any applicant that fails to pass and subsequently is denied entry into the pension fund shall make the reimbursement. And that's pretty clear to me, so, yeah. Matt, next question.
Okay. Let's see, we'll skip 3B because you already answered that. Article 7, disciplinary actions, the first paragraph, it says that when they take disciplinary action against a member of the fire department as generally set forth, and then it lists out the Indiana codes and the local codes. A couple of folks have brought up the question, what does as generally set forth mean? Does that mean they're going to follow the Indiana code? They're going to generally follow it? It's just a very vague statement.
That's a legal thing, and I'm gonna ask Shauna to speak to that.
Happy to address that. It says generally set forth because there are things that aren't covered in the ordinance and the statute, which is why you have to supplement it with rules. Generally, we will have to follow whatever is set by statute and by ordinance, and you're supplementing it with these rules. There would never be any risk that that language gives you leeway to violate a statute. Statute always trumps local ordinance, and you certainly can't change it by a rule. So there was no intention that that language is to give us some sort of license to violate a statute. That's why it was worded the way it was.
Okay, I'm not trying to suggest anything. I'm bringing forth the questions that people have brought.
No offense.
Okay, the next one, in that list of municipal codes and codes that are going to be followed, it mentions 8-3.5, 8-3.519 and 17. In 2020, the state legislature amended IC 36-8-2.1 to include firefighters under the Bill of Rights. Should that be listed in that paragraph, or is it just assumed that that'll be followed because it's a state code?
I'll take that one. That's really a legal question.
Yeah.
It has to be followed because it's a statute. By statute, this body is supposed to adopt rules regarding hiring, promotions, demotions, and discipline. Investigations are pre-discipline, so you don't have the authority to adopt rules as to that. And again, to repeat, if there's a statute that confers a right, it has to be followed. We couldn't abrogate it or change it by a rule or an ordinance anyway. So that's why it's not included. It's not one of the specific rules you've been charged with having the authority and discretion to set.
Okay, so the answer is this applies prior to something getting to the merit board.
Correct. In the
Okay,
investigation,
okay.
that statute has to be followed.
Right.
And if it's not,
Okay.
then the person would have a statutory right of action against the city.
Okay. All right. That pretty much covers the questions that I had and that were brought to my attention. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you, Matt.
Are there any other questions from the public? Okay, seeing none, I will close the public hearing. And direct the same question, opportunity for comments to the Merit Commission. Are there any specific questions or comments from you folks regarding the proposed rules of procedure?
Would you like to get a motion on the floor for them so you
I
can
would
have
like
the
to get a motion
discussion?
on the floor. Is there a motion for approval?
I'll make a motion, approval is written, or is written.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Now, any further discussion, questions, comments, queries? I will stop and ask, Kim, you said, I have the complete set of rules of procedure.
You have,
You made another copy.
Maybe what
okay,
you emailed us was on front and back, but I have them
Okay.
all.
that's good.
She printed another copy, I think, today.
Yeah. I printed another copy today and it appears to be missing.
Okay, so the one that they sent us
information.
Yes.
is,
Should be-
it should have everything,
It's-
okay, I've got it saved, so.
Yeah, that's what I've been scrolling through too. I've
Okay,
got that
good.
version.
It's total
Sorry
12
about
pages,
that.
so
Yeah.
you're good, you're off the hook.
Okay. I was worried.
Any Any questions or comments? We have a motion and a second on the floor. Seeing none, I will ask for a vote. All those in favor of approving the Greenwood Fire Department Merit Commission Rules of Procedure signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The rules of procedure have been approved. Any miscellaneous business from the commission? Chief, you have anything at all that,
None at this time.
do we need to set, Counselor, a next meeting date or wait?
You would set one if you have business to conduct. And you adopted the rules, so we can go ahead and put the date of adoption in and distribute these, so you have them.
Yeah,
And then if you need to have a meeting for some reason, then you can set one at your.
don't forget to sign your pay voucher, gentlemen. Then seeing no further business to conduct, then I love talking to you guys, but there's no reason to sit here and do that. I will adjourn this meeting. Thank you all for your attendance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.